Good morning. Happy Monday. Good to see y'all. Are you sleepy? We're sleepy. Last night were the Oscars. We're going to be getting real into that good Oscar talk about the show. We'll get into some of our opinions about the winners and other nominees. I've got a great panel with me today I'm super excited about. Good morning, Ed.
Yay!
Good morning, Emma.
Good morning.
And good morning, Dan.
To quote Spencer when I walked in the office today, it's like we never left.
It's like we never left. Just a change of clothes. All right, so yes, the Oscars were last night. Parasite was the big winner, surprising, I think, a lot of us. Mm-hmm. What did you all... I feel like we all kind of knew it was going to get something, but was anyone here prepared for them to have that kind of clean sweep?
Oh, absolutely not. And let me be clear that just because I'm surprised doesn't mean I'm unhappy. I am delightfully surprised by this. I really thought, and I had put on my ballot, I thought for sure it would win Best Original Screenplay. I was confident that was going to happen. And I also went with Bong Joon Ho for Best Director. I thought we were going to get a Best Director, Best Picture split this year. Mm-hmm. So had Sam Mendes won Best Director, which I also thought he might, then I would have thought, okay, Parasite's got a fighting chance at winning Best Picture. But because Bong Joon Ho won Best Director, I went, well, it's probably going to be 1917. And then when Jane Fonda, of all people, to come present the award for Best Picture. I mean, what, like an icon of our time who's fighting for very important issues that are going on in the world and just doesn't care what anybody thinks of her. She's amazing. I love Jane Fonda. And just to have her up there with that moment of announcing that Parasite was Best Picture, I was in my living room and I literally stood up and gave a standing ovation.
And thank you for the dramatic pause.
Yeah, right. That's a great dramatic pause.
It was a good dramatic pause.
I actually said last night it would have been hilarious if the La La Land thing had happened this year. They would have announced Judy as the Best Picture winner. Which would have been hilarious because it wasn't nominated. But that's just not how it works. Surprised, yes. I mean, when we did our predictions, one of my outsider picks was I thought that Bong Joon Ho was going to win Best Director. Right. But then I also spread things down. I'm like, but because of that, I'm going to give screenplay to Tarantino. I thought they'd spread it out a little bit more. I mean, I've said it before, 1917 was my favorite movie from last year, but I'm in no way upset that Parasite won Best Picture. I think it's a great movie, and I think it really is a good idea to sort of... I'm glad this is a movie that breaks that barrier of saying that, like, this is what a Best Picture winner is. And that's what I was worried about. You know, Hollywood Reporter runs those infuriating blind ballot things every year, and they get usually an older member of the Academy.
Like the dumbest person with the least to lose.
Just the one, the worst possible Oscar voter. But I think both of the ones they published this year, the Oscar voter they said was like, well, foreign films shouldn't be nominated for Best Picture. So I'm so glad that they have now finally, the precedent has been set, that's not the case, because if it's the Best Picture, then I think it should be the Best Picture. Yep. Just as I would be just as happy if there was a fantastic animated film that won Best Picture. So movies are movies are movies are movies, and I'm extremely excited. I'm excited to see Bong Joon Ho, given the sort of legitimacy that he has deserved for so long. It was weird. Like my biggest qualm was with the show, and very little with the winners this year.
Yeah, apparently it happened last year too, but I didn't really recall. There was a lot of presenters presenting other presenters who then presented awards.
Yeah, weird Russian doll of presenting.
Yeah.
At one point they had someone up in the rafters for no good reason, like... So one thing I will mention, and this is as of this morning, because I'm sure they'll be taking in other views as people watch it streaming or whatever, but it sounds like the Oscars were down to 23.6 million viewers, easily, says this, making them the least watched Academy Awards ever.
Interesting.
Well, that trend will continue as long as you can watch anything on your phone. I'm gonna go ahead and tune into the Afterlife real quick.
Yeah, does that is that just over the air?
I'll get confirmation on that if we can get confirmation on that line. But I'm wondering because that could
even we didn't
streaming.
Watch it on the air last night. We watched it.
26 number? I'll find out.
Yeah, we watched it streaming. So
I streamed it too.
What is that inclusive of?
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's also and this is something that I think comes up a lot with awards shows, and particularly with the Oscars. And I do want to go back and talk more about the foreign language, the now international category, but. it is this thing of not only are some people watching it on streaming, and we don't know if that number counts towards that number, people are clipping these things out all night. So if you want to, you can easily follow the Oscars on your phone. Like just through Twitter without having to log
on your
in
phone,
anyway.
on YouTube, on Twitter, people, like you said, clipping out different sections. There's so many sports shows. I don't watch a whole sports show. What kind of loser has time for that? I watch 6 minutes of this. Oh yeah, LeBron did this. Good, got it. Oh, this happened. Got it. And I'm done. I don't have to watch an hour of some two old players rattling at each other.
Yeah,
Nobody has to do that.
Twitter is basically award season red zone, I guess.
Yes.
And if you want to, you can just go through and follow the whole thing that way, and then you don't have to watch some of the awkward patter that we had to see last night.
Yeah.
And just so I can get my one snarky, get attacked on Twitter all day comment out.
Let's do it, Hot Take Sally.
Parasite winning, it's like if Crash was good. You know, it's like if Crash was actually good and was actually saying anything and actually got awarded. That's what it's like. It's like something comes along, grabs the zeitgeist, and everybody feels like. I also think our conversation earlier with those older, so-called older viewers or more myopic viewers or voters rather, when we were talking about, I think maybe the shaming that they got in the press of you're all dumb old fogies and you won't consider this. I mean, you know what? I'll rent it on Amazon Prime and watch this Parasite stuff. And when they did, I think it may have changed some minds. I think the press about how Parasite had no chance may have changed some minds.
Yeah, no, it's and that's something that Dan he's brought up a few times when we talk about the awards, how the conversation starts to shift and change as things get closer. And as people do start hearing more of that kind of feedback, like, well, this thing is really good, like more people start gravitating towards that because of the way that it gets covered in the media.
It's about momentum. The Oscar races, they can turn on a dime. And this one was, I didn't realize it was turning so much toward Parasite specifically at the late, but the momentum late in the Oscar race was heavily swinging toward Parasite. And I think you saw that and the results of last night, I mean, it was such a great year. And so when you have movies like 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Parasite, and they're all jostling for position. I mean, Irishman got shut out last night. It didn't win a thing.
Yeah, you're right.
There were really great movies that won nothing. It just goes to show you how, the conventional wisdom is generally not conventional or wisdom. It's best guesses, but then the acting categories were set in stone, it seemed.
Yeah, there were a couple where I went, okay, I feel like, some say like Charlize might have pulled an upset in Best Actress, but I was confident it was going to go to Renee Zellweger.
Right.
Overall.
And we'll definitely go through because I want to make sure that later we really break down some of these categories and things.
This is my one weird thing that I was really happy was that Ford vs. Ferrari won for sound editing, because it was one of those things that I had kind of counted out.
Right.
But then when it won for sound editing, I went, the sound editing in that movie really was good.
It's not an easy job at all.
And Ford vs. Ferrari is such a delightful movie. Like, I really enjoyed Ford vs. Ferrari. So.
I've got breaking, and I'm going to go ahead and announce it now.
Boy.
This is from Joe. 800 likes for an MTV crib-style tour of The Office.
Oh, dang.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to host it.
800 before the end of the show today.
800 before the end of the show today, so the live likes is what counts. So I wanted to make sure I get them in now. So if y'all want an MTV crib-style tour of The Office, someone will have to wear grills, I guess. You can start
I'll do it.
likes. Go ahead and sacrifice.
So where is where the magic happens? What are we going to do?
I know, right?
The place where the magic happens.
We got a few couches.
Here?
It's fine.
I think this is the place where the magic happens. It's
Okay,
probably
fair.
inside the booth.
Yeah.
No, but I wanted to ask Dan. So, do you think? Because I think like maybe you had thought that 1917 sidled up and was like, "Hey, baby," right at the right time. Do you think that they started their approach a tiny bit too soon, and that maybe like a racer that starts their kick too soon, and then somebody else supplants them?
I don't. I think that. They actually started late in the game. They were very late in the game. They almost started at the perfect time to close late. I think what happened was, I think this is actually a byproduct of all of these award shows now being compressed about 6 weeks. The Oscars used to be in late March, and now you've got all the award shows stacked on top of each other. Boom, 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 boom. So instead of having these things spread out, I think a lot of voters and a lot of people saw Bong Joon Ho and the Parasite team accepting a lot of different awards. The SIG won the SAG Award for Best Ensemble, won, Critics' Choice Awards, Civic Critics Awards, Golden Globes, etc. And I think it was just that people either sought it out, and maybe that was the last movie they saw. They're like, oh, I haven't watched Parasite yet, but maybe I should. Or they just like director Bong. I think that's part of it. And they saw him, they're like, I
and
like
his
this
translator.
guy.
They are a dynamic duo, like unto Batman and Robin. They are.
I think this was probably maybe the compression of the awards season, seeing so many wins across categories and so many great speeches and stuff, and then I think also seeking Parasite out, because I could see that being the one that a lot of voters didn't watch because it came out a while ago, because it is a South Korean film. Maybe that's the last one they saw.
And like I said,
and it's also, by the way, a really good movie.
Right. And like I said, to be clear, like I said, I think it was almost like tortoise in the hare situation, where it starts out slow and then other things supplant it, and then right towards the end, like you were saying, 1917 runs up and says, "Yeah, I'm about to win it," and then the turtle goes, "I was camping next to the ribbon," and then breaks it. You know what I mean? That seems to be what happened, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that in the Oscar race. And again, I think what we're lamenting about why the Oscar ratings are down is why Parasite won. Because people could watch Parasite at their house long after the theatrical was over, and they could watch it, like you said, Dan, right before the award ceremony, and it could influence them. Whereas they probably wrote it off earlier, as the articles were saying.
I think, it's interesting, the sort of story of how Parasite came to win Best Picture. And I do honestly remember thinking, as it started to gain momentum and more people were coming back and revisiting it, I legitimately went, you know what? It's got a fighting chance. And I really went into last night thinking Best Picture is going to either be 1917 or slight chance it's going to be Parasite.
And it came out on Blu-ray, right as awards season voting was happening. Yep. I would almost wager, if they were campaigning smartly, which obviously they were, they probably sent that to voters' houses. I mean, timing is everything. If the Oscars had happened in late March like they used to, maybe 1917 does win. Maybe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood catches a second win and goes all the way. I mean, it is literally so much about timing and the momentum and who's got the everything that,
it'll be interesting to see how that influences the award season going forward, because I think this is our first year where we've had this really truncated season.
Well, and it's also like there has been, going all the way back to Moonlight winning, and that was really the first year, if you look at it, the push for the Academy to really start expanding their roles. Shape of Water was pretty much a foregone conclusion. But if you look at 3 out of the last 4 years, there has been either a huge upset or a huge amount of suspense about what's going to win Best Picture. Starting with Moonlight, last year with Green Book and Roma, this year with Parasite. So I think what we are also seeing is a very interesting sea change in just front runners, and the fact that we may be going into, hopefully, a sustained period where there is no front runner going into Best Picture, which, by the way, I like that.
Oh, it's exciting.
I do too.
I love it.
I like that.
Because as you say, Dan, there were and Danielle, you mentioned this as well, so many of the films that were nominated for Best Picture were absolutely, I wouldn't have been mad if most of the movies on that list won.
I don't think there's one on there that I would have been angry at winning.
And it, as you say, it boils down to...
I was looking for 2 popes, and then I remembered it wasn't on there.
Oh,
I know.
But we had both popes. We did both popes nominated in actor category. So, but yeah, it does. It boils down to the sort of strategic Oscars campaign, which Parasite did incredibly well.
Yep, and I mean, if you want to sell that movie, you just get Director Bong in front of every single camera that you can.
Yep,
and they did.
Yep,
and his translator Sharon Choi, shout out to her.
Oh, she's amazing.
She's brilliant, and apparently also a filmmaker.
Oh,
of course. Yeah.
Oh well, now I'm
well, it's been widely reported that she's working on a movie about award season. So let's look out for
come on, put it in my veins.
Yeah. She's great.
Put it right in my face. So now, obviously, there's a big uptick. I've seen a lot of people going back and talking about some of Director Bong's earlier movies. A lot of Snowpiercer talk this morning. So what would you like for him to do next? And how do you feel about the HBO Parasite TV series, which Mark Ruffalo may star in, and this is per Collider, that he's producing with Adam McKay?
I want him to do whatever he wants next. If he feels like he can do a Parasite 6-hour TV show, then okay, that's great. But I mean, he's got the license really to do anything that he wants. And I think what's great is he doesn't have to necessarily do that under the hot glare of Hollywood. He can go, to his coffee shops that he talks about writing in
that always
close because he goes to once and aren't busy, and he can do whatever he wants. I mean, I don't think he's got the pressure that some directors might to go to a big studio and do a big studio film next, or do this or do that. I think he can do whatever he wants, which is great.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. I think, I don't know, I was just thinking, because Snowpiercer's kind of like science fiction. If you've never seen Snowpiercer,
it's like a good genre.
It's I really like it. It's a really good movie that was kind of swept under the rug because of some circumstances, which makes it even better that Bong Joon Ho won for Best Director and for Best Picture last night. But yeah, I'd love to see him get back into, I think, the sort of sci-fi fantasy adjacent stuff. His like black comedy in Parasite is so good that I want to see more of that as well.
Right, and Ocha is another one that he did with Netflix, if you want to go check that out as well. Especially if you liked Joaquin Phoenix's speech. Go check out
It's like Joaquin's speech, the movie.
Yeah, it is. It truly is.
It really is. Were there any kind of snubs that really stood out for you? I know we talked a little bit about how The Irishman just got like nothing. Was there anything that you were like, I really would have thought, it's an interesting...
Well, it made me think the whole time of when The Irishman was getting... I refuse to call it snubbed because I don't believe it deserved any of the awards it was up for. It deserved to be nominated, and that's just fine. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me start out with that premise. Martin Scorsese, does he have one of those weird honorary ones? Didn't they give him one of those weird honorary ones?
He won for The Departed.
He won the Best Director for Departed.
Yeah.
Okay, dude, I was getting tense, man. I don't even like The Departed, but that's his. that's his. Hoo-ah! Got you all in check. That's his Lifetime Achievement Award. Sin of a Lady, Lifetime Achievement Award, his training day, if you will. So yeah, I get that, and that's fine. But like, I really do hope that before he dies, he has another one that has a legit chance to win these awards, and maybe he wins another one, But overall, yeah, I kind of liked all of them. I think out of the people that they chose to nominate for these awards, I believe the right people won. Like, I know we're going to get to it, but like, when you look at the acting categories, I watched Judy, and let me tell you something, Mean Gene. She holds that movie together like Flex Seal tape. Okay, if she's not in that movie, that is. It's not an abomination or anything, but it's Emil Blonsky. So basically, that's for like 5 people. Lead actor. Said it before, I'll say it again. You take Joaquin Phoenix out of that movie. He's like who holds things together? He's like a reverse Samson. He's holding the temple together by sheer will and power.
Yeah, Atlas just holding up the world of the Joker.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely, good one. So yeah, I believe the acting categories. There's nothing wrong with the people who won those.
I was also surprised that was Brad Pitt's first win.
First acting Oscar.
First acting Oscar. Yes, he won for producing. But yeah, I guess I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, wow. Good for him.
Well, and it's one of those ones where, because I feel like we have that conversation at least like once every couple years where it's like, I think we all just realize that this person's never won one, and then it becomes like the Justice for Leo. Leo is Oscar, like all that stuff. And I think that we just all just maybe assumed that he had won one, and so I feel like everyone was kind of surprised. Or at least that it hadn't been already, he hadn't started a campaign for himself, because that's how it happens. He hadn't started a campaign for himself to be like, hey, buddy, did you hear that old Brad Pitt's never won an Oscar? Like, what should we do about it? Like, he didn't do any of that.
An Oscar.
And that is truly exactly what it is. I think that's why it's such a surprise, is because Brad Pitt is this person who just like quietly works all the time and is quietly a producer on all of these films that are made by people of color to elevate those stories. And like Brad Pitt just like goes about living his life and never has actively campaigned for an Oscar.
All that man want to do is get high, make movies about stuff that he likes, and hang out with his children. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, Tarantino, man, I don't think enough people talk about how much he has done for the actors in his films. I mean,
Yeah.
he himself is one for writing, but if you look at the fact he won Christoph Waltz 2 Oscars,
Yes.
Brad Pitt won an Oscar for being in his film. Those are just the winners. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting a couple other winners from his movies, but just an actor's director. So it's just like, if you want a nice, juicy, meaty part, if you want to win that Oscar, go work with Tarantino. Apparently, because,
Apparently so.
Well, as the lady in Dolomite says, it starts with the word, and that is how you win an acting Oscar. When people they train actors to read scripts to say, is this a part that can get you something? Is this a part that pushes your boundaries? Is this a part, when you get a Quentin Tarantino script, you can look through almost all of those parts. I've been reading Quentin Tarantino scripts since 1993. And they are magnificent on the page. His stage direction isn't even that great. He concentrates right on that middle column of beauty, and he doesn't care if somebody's got a 3-page monologue. You're gonna do that monologue. You're gonna take a statue home, baby. He sets you up to win. He Magic Johnson, nice bounce pass right in the pocket, nice lob for you to dunk it. He's a point guard. He's setting everybody up. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sports metaphors. I got 2 of them. No, I know. So Netflix didn't have the best night, obviously, but Laura Dern did give them their first acting win for Marriage Story. So how do we think that might affect awards, maybe people giving more awards consideration to Netflix stuff from here on out?
I mean, I think the dam is broken as far as that goes, because they took home also, they distributed the best documentary winner, they distributed American Factory, but they led all studios in nominations. I think that's the statement.
Yes.
I think that is the statement, and any question about legitimacy, I think, is now in their rearview mirror.
Absolutely. And speaking of streaming, so it sounds like the rating numbers most likely include an estimation of streaming, but unlikely they would report every streaming service's numbers in this time window. So it's going to be Nielsen style ratings.
Okay.
Is what it's looking like for the show.
And can I do a retraction? We talked about these things earlier, and I dismissed Laura Dern's performance as one big monologue. And I gotta say, that's not true. Because watching Marriage Story again, she actually binds ScarJo's character to the spine of the story by getting her involved in the divorce industry, as it were, and explaining to her, like her character and Ray Liotta's character, but her character more than Ray Liotta's character, our entry into divorce as an industry. And she does a lot of yeoman's work doing monologues and doing good acting with other characters to elucidate that point. So I must do a retraction. I do believe she earned this Oscar.
She's the most... Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say, being exposition woman is always difficult. I think it is especially difficult when you're dealing with something as meaty and weighty as the law. And like, it's hard enough to be like, you got to go get this idol and you got to go this. It's a lot more difficult when you're dealing with heavy concepts like that.
That is the most charming villain performance. Because if you look at Marriage Story, she and Ray Liotta are the villains.
Of course they are.
Film.
Oh yeah.
But it just goes to show just how you can get caught up in something, and you know, someone who cares about you, but they do, but only to the extent that it serves their purposes. I mean, there's a lot going on with those performances in particular. I think Ray Liotta, because of the character that he plays, people are like, ooh, bad guy. But if you look at Laura Dern, she's manipulative. Yeah. She's manipulating Scarlett Johansson, and
she's a good lawyer.
It's to win. Yeah. It's to win the case.
Yeah.
And so I love what she did in that role. And you know, and what a speech.
Yeah.
I think they knew that. You got Diane Ladd sitting there.
Yeah. Let's also talk about the Independent Spirit Awards.
We have to talk about
the Gay Men's Choir.
We're not going to spoil it. Just look it up. Gay Men's Choir, Independent Spirit Awards. Go find it. It is the most delightful thing that I have seen in weeks. Just good and wholesome. It just made me incredibly happy, and will be stuck in your head all day. So let's get more into the show a little bit broader, because we've talked a little bit about this. How did we feel about them not having a host again?
Didn't work so much this year.
Yeah,
Didn't work this time.
I felt like it didn't bother me last year, but this year it was weird. It was weird.
Well, my perspective is skewed because, like I said, I watch it on a slight delay, so I can just blaze through anything that I find boring. So I loved it.
Well, yeah, no, we watched it in real time.
I got best editing for Ed Greer won best editing of the Oscars
So
last
did you get a chance to see the opening number?
Oh yes, I did.
What'd you think?
I think it's really. Look, I'm not going to go hot take Sally on this one. Obviously, there was a dearth of certain sorts of nominees. And obviously, there's a little bit of overcompensation, and that's all I'll say about it. I love Janelle Monáe, and I thought she was great, and I love people, Chris Rock and Steve Martin. And then kind of until Maya Rudolph and Kristen Wiig got up there, and then in the middle of Lose Yourself when they were messing up his ad-libs. Guys, when you're doing a rap performance, you have to have the hype man say some of the parts, because rapping live is too hard. Black Thought can do it, KRS-One can do it, and like 2 dead guys can do it. Everybody else goes rap, rap, rap.
That's why there's so many people on stage.
And then somebody, that's why you got 15 guys.
That's why Flavor Flav has a job.
Yeah, they're not.
The reason that Flavor Flav has a job is that he can do that while Chuck D does his thing.
They're not just right. And sing, got no brain.
He's around.
Yeah.
They could have gotten Flav.
That's what I'm saying. So like they betrayed my man M. He came out there with his Just for Men looking ass beard, and
I had to explain Beijing dialogue yesterday to the room, and it made me the happiest.
So they failed my man. Okay.
I don't really know what Eminem was doing.
No one does.
Listen, I didn't dislike it by any stretch of the imagination. I just kind of went with it, but I also went, what is happening?
Did we ever find out the reason why he was? Was it just because he wanted to, because he forgot to last time?
I think it is. Again, I said this on Movie Fights, and I truly believe this. In the '70s, it was bringing out Bing Crosby, and in the '90s, it was bringing out Barbra Streisand. It was bringing out people that did sing to Doris Day, sing Que Sera Sera in 1976.
Yeah.
It's just that it's weird to us because songs like Lose Yourself and when they're singing It's Hard Out Here for when 3 6 Mafia is on stage in 5 years, we're also going to find it's weird. I think it's just because different songs now have won Best Original Song. And I mean, listen, I would never have anticipated it happening. But yeah, I actually kind of liked it because I remember the year that 8 Mile came out, I was looking forward to Eminem. I was in college, so of course I was looking forward to Eminem performing on the Oscars, and he didn't. He wasn't even there, and the song won. So for me, it was like, okay, cool. Finally, Eminem gets to do his Oscar-winning song on the Oscars. I didn't find it as weird as some people did. I did. Again, this wasn't just a bit for Movie Fights. I found the opening super weird, but that's just me, I guess.
Even Janelle Monáe, as charming as she is, cannot make weird gotcha singing work.
Yeah,
for it.
I think that's the thing is I appreciated them constantly addressing the fact that, hey, there weren't any women nominated for Best Director, and there's only one person of color nominated for an acting award, or one black person specifically, because Antonio Banderas was nominated as well. But yeah, like it really was, you keep addressing this,
but they don't address it. They're trying to address it, but, in their way. But yeah, no, I agree.
They're like self-roasting during the show.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I mean, yes, it's an issue, but it's like, fucking sorry, chair.
Going so
Sorry for you watching at home. Apologies. Guys. I got to put $5 in the swear jar.
It had been going so well, chair. What happened?
But yeah, no, it also felt weird. It's like you can only lampshade it for so long before it just starts to feel a little cynical. Like, okay, but it's still happening.
Well, we're still doing the awards.
We're still doing the awards.
That's the thing is, it's kind of like, I feel like the attitude that you can take towards the Oscars, because I see so many people on the internet being contrarians about it. And I understand where that perspective comes from of, oh, it doesn't mean anything. It's just an award show, like blah, blah, blah. If the movie that you like wasn't nominated, it's all BS anyway. And fine, you can absolutely take that attitude. I totally appreciate it. Bong Joon Ho is not wrong when he refers to the Oscars as being a local awards show.
My favorite thing.
It truly is. It is because and credit to the U.S. that film very much as we know it in the present day, sort of its impact on our society and the way it's done. Yeah, that was all kind of spearheaded by the U.S. We're in L.A. This is where the film industry really started to blow up, which isn't to say it originated here, but this is where it really gained legs.
There are very few places where an entire huge city is based on this one.
100%. So yeah, that's why the Oscars are the way that they are. It's an American award show that was made to celebrate cinema in America back in 1928 was the first Oscar, something like that. And it was just like a little tiny ceremony where everybody kind of got together and had some drinks and went, yay, we made movies. And it has continued to grow, and that's a good thing. And having films like Parasite, which won not only for Best International Film, but also for Best Picture, win that what's considered to be like the most prestigious award is starting to tear down the barriers of what the Oscars have come, rightfully so, to be perceived as. So you can take that contrarian attitude towards them all you want. Yes, there were a ton of films that were amazing this year that got no recognition whatsoever. There were amazing films that were nominated that didn't walk away with any awards last night. But it doesn't change the fact that like these awards are happening, and the people who made these movies that are winning these awards worked really hard on them.
Right. And also, I mean, in addition to that, it is part of the reason why people do fight and say that we do need more of this is because it does affect the kind of stuff that you know. Director Bong is like, my mom knows who he is now. Like, that's amazing. And that's because of these awards. And so, the Academy, I know that they're trying and it's little steps, but it's like, I would much rather hear that they're doing more things where they can open it up so that, you know, something like a Waves gets seen in like a showcase or something. I would rather them do that than talk out the side of their mouth and be like, sorry guys, bloop, 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 but here's more awards. Just like do the other thing quietly. I would rather you do that than do the loud thing loud.
Right.
Well, and just as I've said on this show before, if you don't know enough words, you can't feel enough feelings. I think put that on my tombstone. It's about the smartest thing I've ever said. And because it's important to and so when we're talking about the vocabulary of film, it's important to see oneself or people like you in the vocabulary of film, as elucidated by the speech from the producers of Hair Love. They were talking about like, look, the first thing you do with your kids, I don't give a damn if you're Jack the Ripper or Wyatt Earp. You sit your kid down in front of a dumb box and you let them learn the world through that. That's what you do. Unless you're Amish or something, that's what you do. And those boxes tell your kid what life is. And if they don't see any black people or any gay people or any women or any Asians and so on and so forth on that box, that kid has a skewed view of the world forever. That takes a really hard time to break down. So it's important that these images...
Give me them consonants.
It's important that these images are more egalitarian. It's important for our world, full stop.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that was also part of Matthew Cherry's speech, was also this idea that the first things that we are most likely exposing our children to are animated films. Right. I think it was actually his producing partner who brought this up.
Karen Tolliver.
Karen Tolliver. So, but it really truly is important because by seeing other types of people and stories that don't even take place in your own country and your own culture, like Parasite, yet being able to see the very direct parallels between what's going on in the U.S. and what Bong Joon Ho has to say about the state of things in South Korea.
Yes.
You are exposed to more of the world that way, and you are normalizing this idea that there are lots of different people and lots of different cultures out there in the world, and that they're all part of it, and you shouldn't reject the differences. You should celebrate the differences and also the similarities.
And that's why I think the Academy's not having this conversation. They're not on, they're not honestly having it. Is it comes up every year now around the time that nominations are announced, and then they make some jokes about it during the awards ceremony, and they invite more people into the Academy, and that's it. And then it all happens again the next year. And that's why I think the answer to all of this really is overhauling the nominations process. Because I honestly think that if there was transparency and accountability behind, who and it doesn't have to be a small juried panel. It can be 200 people. It can be 400 people. You just know that this slice of the Academy has watched as much as possible, that they are devoted to watching things. As long as you have a full accounting and you understand that everything that could be considered has been considered in a legitimate way. I think even, like, for example, this year with the lack of diversity diversity in nominees, I think the conversation is slightly different than it has been in other years, where, for example, with David Oyelowo and Ava DuVernay and Selma, that being overlooked in that particular year, I think is a different conversation than looking at this, which I think was a much stronger year as far as movies go, and saying like, well, okay, but part of it is also a tough competition. But I think where you get the X factor is there is this doubt out there of like, what is actually being considered? Has everything that should be considered been seen, been considered, been given a fair shot to be included in these nominations? And I think that's the conversation the Academy needs to have. You have to reassure people that everything that should be seen is being seen, and that everyone who's making these nominations is doing so in good faith and from a position of being well educated and well informed about all of the potential nominees that are out there. And I think that's the Academy has to start having this conversation, or this is just going to recur.
And like,
every
how do you do
year.
that? Do you say like, hey, like for your group, you are assigned, if you want to vote, you have to see at least these 10 movies? Like, do you do, or and then change movies between voters or something? Like, how would you regulate something?
You gotta have a wristband that blings when you go into the movie. It goes bing.
I think you just have to do it can be on a rotational basis.
Right.
Like, for example, like I am a voter in the Emmys at the Emmys because we've been very lucky to have been nominated. But every year they have a thing with the LA Local News or local awards where they ask for volunteers to be on a jury panel. They send you the stuff to watch, and it's a lot, and then you watch it and you say, okay, here are the things that I recommend. So yes, there is a massive amount of stuff to watch, but I think that you find a group of people, and it would not be an easy process, but you find a group of people that are willing to devote a lot of time to seeing what is put up for consideration. They do this already for some categories. They do this, I believe, for the short film categories. They already make it so that you have to go see them to nominate them. And I think that they should make a bigger step, because at the root of this is really the question that's unanswerable unless the Academy addresses it, is, are the people who are making nominations informing themselves and seeing movies like Waves that are smaller films, seeing movies that tell different kinds of stories, or are they just sort of riding the momentum of films that have gotten other awards? And I think that's fundamental. I don't think the Academy is going to address it because they're a monolith, and not a monolith, but they're an aircraft carrier in the sense that, like, to change direction takes a massive amount of effort, but I think that is ultimately the answer, is just reassuring people that, hey, if you have a category of directors where there are no women included this year, if you can at least reassure people that the films that were directed by women were fairly considered for that category, I think that will stem some of the debate.
100%.
Now, if that happens every year, then you open this back up.
Then there's a problem. But it's true, because and what you're describing, Dan, is inclusion exactly. I think we've had this conversation on the show before. That's all anybody is asking for, is that
equal consideration.
Yes, equal consideration, equal opportunity. I understand right now, because people of color and women of color especially, have been shut out from these things for so long. I understand why people would look at it and go, well, you're giving them preferential treatment. They're not getting preferential treatment. They're just finally actually getting equal consideration.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So whatever they can do to make that an even more transparent process, I'm on board.
Yeah. Yep. They won't.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But we can dream our sweet little dreams. Guys, this is the part of the show where we thank you so much for liking and subscribing, hitting that bell. You turn on your notifications. You comment. Thank you all so much for all that. It's why we get to sit around here and talk about the Oscars. It's why we got to hang out last night and do a live Oscar movie fights, which was so much fun. So you can find that. If you fell asleep after the Oscars and you weren't able to stay up live with us, you can go and watch that after you're done watching this. Also, we did a video where we had a lawyer defend the Joker in real life, which is also out now. They will also be charting later today. Right now, we've got a special treat. Do you want to intro this?
Yeah.
So when we did our Fast and the Furious episode, on a lark, I did if you've ever seen Cutlery Corner or similar knife selling shows, they like to sell blades, is what they do. And so I did a little bit where Spencer gave me this Fast and the Furious knife and I sold it on the air. And I guess people enjoyed it. So last week's likes goal was that if we hit a certain amount of likes on one of last week's shows, that we would do a full knife infomercial. We hit the goal, and so I have not seen this. So this will be my first time seeing it, but we have produced a knife infomercial selling movie blades because you are great fans and you hit that like goal. So this is the knife infomercial produced thanks to viewers like you.
And come back, because we're going to continue talking about some more stuff for the Oscars. Plus, y'all got another like goal you have to try to hit, so we can get more stuff like this. Mm-hmm. But for now, here's Dan kniving out.
Oh, boy.
Knives out.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Movie Knife Corner. I'm your host, Rooster Williams, and today we are looking at some of the finest blades in the worlds of cinema. We have so many wonderful items here for you. You can see the selection behind us. This entire collection, by the way, is on the sale. 247 pieces for $19.95. You can order today. We will send that to you for free. I'm taking a bath on this, folks. I'm not here to make money. I'm here to sell knives, and we have some wonderful blades for you. I see the first item over here, item number 4873. We have, oh, look at this. It is small, but it is deadly. It is the shoe blade. This is a James Bond type weapon. It is deadly. It has a mini serrated edge. Folks, you go to a store, you're gonna find this on sale for maybe $19.95, maybe $14.95. I am selling this beauty here for $3.99 for a pack of 4. 4 of these beauties could be on their way to you. For all of we get through security at the airport. Don't tell the government I said that, but be in trouble, right? All right, there you go, Jimbo. Thank you very much. What do we got here? All right, now I'm excited about this one. This is a genuine Westerosi blade. This is needle. This is a castle forged steel sword. You stick them with the pointy end, but you know what I'm not going to stick you with, folks? I'm not sticking you with the big bill. Let me tell you right now, because I am selling this genuine castle forged steel blade for $17.95, and that includes shipping and handling. Oh, if you got a little kids, this is a great blade for a child. More. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Is this a bad dream? No, it's not. This is a genuine knife-bladed glove from Freddy Krueger for the basement dweller in everyone's life. You can see, you get 4 blades for the price of 1. We have 4 sharp serrated steel blades in one beautiful package. I don't know what you do at night, and I don't care. I got no liability for what happens with these blades, let me tell you what. And I tell you what, if you order now, I'm gonna throw in the thumb for free. This is a non-thumb blade knife. You call right now, you get these 4 knives, item 48786. You get these 4 sharp serrated steel knives on the glove, mounted on the glove. These are great joints. It's a quality craftsmanship here, folks. You get 4 of these for $18.95, and I'm gonna throw in the thumb for free. You get 5 blades on that glove. I don't know what you're up to, probably some freaky stuff. That ain't up to me. Oh, folks, okay. This is a premier item right now. This is a commemorative item. These are legitimate adamantium claws. This is made of pure adamantium. Folks, you don't find adamantium just anywhere. These are pure adamantium claws. You can put them on your hands. It'll cut through flesh. It'll cut through bone, but it ain't gonna cut through your budget, and I'll tell you why. I am gonna sell you these 3 genuine adamantium claws for $18.99. $18.99. We only have 46 of these. Odell, what's your name? Larry. Odell. Well, how many we got left?
Just 17 more.
We got 17 of these adamantium claws left for $18.95. Item number X487325. Adamantium, legitimate adamantium claws. You're gonna want these. It ain't gonna cut and hack and slash your pocketbook, folks, because you ain't gonna find a price like this anywhere else. What do we got left? What do we got? What in the hell is this? This is a hammer. What is this? A hammer? Get that out of here. That ain't a blade. That ain't a knife. I ain't selling that. Okay, folks. Here you go. This is our last item, and it's a biggie. Don't throw this one over your shoulder, folks, because this, oh baby, look at this. This thing will cut through butter, it'll cut through bread, it'll cut through a dark Sith Lord, whoever's at the door, whoever's your enemy. I don't know who you're out there fighting, folks, but you want yourself a legitimate lightsaber blade, hand forged by a Jedi Knight. My friend Buddy is a Jedi Knight. He made this himself. He harvested the kyber crystals himself. This is a one-of-a-kind item. Some of these folks don't respect these lightsaber items, but I do. This is a legitimate Jedi weapon, and it can be yours for the low price of $199.95. Now, I know that seems like a lot, but we have rare earth minerals at the center of this blade. This is a genuine metal blade made from metal in the galaxy metal blade and a kyber crystal center. We've got the lightsaber item number 11384, genuine Jedi lightsaber. Odell, we sold out yet? I bet we are. Are we sold out yet?
Officially sold out.
We are officially sold out of the Jedi lightsaber, and I believe that is the last blade that we have for sale today, here today on Movie Talk Corner. I'm your host, Rooster McFeely, and thank you for joining us. Join us next time. We got so many more knives, so much left to go. I'm gonna go harvest some more of them adamantium claws. We're gonna get y'all. I got a vibranium a sword coming up. We're getting more of that Valorant steel. We got so much more coming up. Stay tuned right here. I'll be back in about 35 minutes.
You guys should be doing those likes because you get to see.
I really think that you guys should just cancel everything else and only have Dan do.
It's just knife talk now.
I was running out of steam there at the end. I don't know if you could tell.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Our last item.
Ryan, where are we at with our likes for today?
We did it a while ago.
Oh, nice.
All right, so really quickly, one thing, I'm gonna have to buy just like a bottle of champagne and just keep it out somewhere like, this whole thing. So really quickly, I'm sorry. It's
Adamantium.
I didn't want to see if there's a couple of the specifics because we are going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. But if there are any like specific categories or wins that anyone really want to go, no, please take us through it.
Okay, I don't know how to say her last name, but Hildur Guðnadóttir, who was the original score for Joker. If Joaquin Phoenix is Atlas, then she is the ocean. You know what I'm saying? And making that whole thing work because it's such a subjective piece of art that without that score to unite some of the themes that give you a little insight as to not necessarily how to feel, but instruction manuals of what you might be feeling. It really helps that movie, and I think she might be the first woman to win that award solo or something. She was for Golden Globes. I don't know if it's for Oscars, but she's a pioneering woman in music, and she even said so in her speech about don't not necessarily don't let people silence you, but like if you have the music inside of you. And you're a girl, just don't think that you can't do it.
Yeah,
and that was really dope.
Same with I wish I written down her name, but the conductor in the Wonder Woman 84 outfit.
Oh yeah,
she was killing it, son.
Oh, she meant it. She meant all of those. It was amazing. Especially as like a choir nerd.
I really liked the presenter trio of Gal Gadot, Brie Larson, and Sigourney Weaver. It was so nice
really
to see the three of them together and them talking about their fight club that's only for ladies unless men want to come and not wear shirts. But of course, I just wanted to point out this is not an unpopular opinion. I think this is a very popular opinion that if Roger Deakins had not won for 1917, that would have been a travesty.
Yeah, that was the one that Mara and I both were just like, if he doesn't win, we leave.
Yeah.
We quit. We leave the country.
You just
leave
walk out,
California.
just walk into the sea.
Just walk into the sea because that was so good. And then I mean that was the one that was just like, oh, that has to win. I also thought it was very, I forget who it was, somebody at our party was saying, with Taika, like Taika is just sort of like tap dance through award season.
I know.
And the fact that when he won the Oscar, you could tell, I think it may have been you who said just like he didn't take this seriously until he won an Oscar. And you could tell like he was just like,
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
And like it was so interesting to see like the gravity of that moment. You could tell
He's like when it
had hit him,
yeah.
and then the shot of I think it may have been with the feature film or maybe it was the screenplay, but of just seeing Bong Joon Ho just looking at an Oscar and just being like.
And also him making his Oscars kiss.
He made them kiss.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing too. But yeah.
And if you guys don't follow Brie Larson on Twitter, she had a great video of, she was sitting kind of across from Taika Waititi, and she took a video of him not being really sure what to do with his Oscar after he won it and just stashing it under the seat in front of him.
Who I believe was Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett, you want to look after my Oscar for me?
Oh, and maybe this is a downer, but it should be an upper. The lady, and I forgot her name already, my bad, but the one that won for Learning to Skateboard.
Oh, yes.
The best documentary short subject, Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone. She had stated that like early in her life she had won like a student Oscar, and now she's like 50 years old, and she's been in the game for like almost 40 years, and now she's gotten an Oscar now. And it was kind of, and that was the one for
That's American Factory.
American Factory, which is also one of Roth's favorite movies. Like Roth will make me see that movie by hook or crook. But getting back to this movie, it just, her speech to me just was very heartening because it's about, there was a commercial where a bunch of filmmakers were talking, and like James Cameron said, when he was 14, someone told him he had unlimited potential. And that helped him immensely in his mindset. Yeah. Going back to what I said earlier, when you get reinforcement earlier, it's the bottom line. But this lady got reinforcement earlier. But then the actual business got to her over 40 years. And she stuck it out and found her niche, which was documentary filmmaking and spending time in all over the world and finding these subjects. So it's like, it's not about don't give up. Give up if you wanna, but if you don't wanna,
don't do it if you don't like it. If it hurts.
Yeah, give up if you wanna, but if you don't wanna, there are things out there for you if you just keep persevering, and you might be able to, you fall down into your niche.
It might not be where you started, but you're going to wind up being somewhere.
Exactly. So that was heartening for me. I was really, I almost cried.
Carol Dysinger.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That one was the one that almost made me cry.
Oh, that's sweet. I have to give it up for performance by Cynthia Erivo.
Oh my God. I thought she should have won Best Original Song just based on her performance, because she had far and away the best performance of the evening.
At the end, when she just stared into my soul.
I was about to riot if they get. I did not remember that song. I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away. And like I know that, I'm sorry. I know that Randy Newman is a legend, but listen to Glasgow for Wild Rose, and then listen to 3.5 minutes of Randy Newman just singing I can't let you throw yourself away.
It's literally the same lyric.
I can't let you. Like, I'm sorry. He's a legend. He's an Oscar winner. He's amazing. That song is 8 words repeated for 4 minutes, and you snub Glasgow? Like, that for me was the winner. Yeah. Oh my God. That was the one. When I heard that, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Yeah, whatever. I get it. He's Randy Newman. If he writes a song, you got to nominate him.
He's going to write a song
Randy Newman.
He wrote a song about a spork, and I guess we're just letting him do that now.
Yeah, he the spork one. But
hey, man, I love LA.
Yeah, but based on the if it had been best performance of an original song, I agree. Cynthia Erivo would have taken that Oscar.
Oh yeah, she really killed that. I mean, she was almost as good as Eminem. I mean.
Eminem gets a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Elton John does not. What the hell is going on in this world?
They should have reprised their MTV Music Awards performance.
I guess.
I mean, I guess they just lost themselves, Dad jokes, Ford versus Ferrari.
Vroom vroom.
And what somebody also said, it might be the last Ford versus Ferrari last motion picture produced by 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
That was notable too.
It was. Yeah. I'm glad that it got a couple of awards, because it really was an enjoyable film.
Oh, I hope we still get the classic 20th Century Fox music in front of us. Is there any other things that you're really like just jumping out that you cannot walk away from this table without talking about?
I was disappointed that Toy Story 4 won Best Animated Feature.
I like Toy Story 4. It would not have been my choice. So I would have picked Klaus.
Again, I didn't 100% didn't dislike it, but I just think Klaus and Missing Link and basically all of these were better than Toy Story 4.
Which is like Toy Story 4 is great. It's nothing. We've seen that Toy Story, and in fact, I believe we've given it several Oscars now. So that's, for me, it wasn't that. Yeah, that's not necessarily my favorite.
Do you think that the Oscar for 1917 for visual effects is us perhaps moving into an era where them being invisible is what we respect more?
I think that started in 2015 when Ex Machina took it over Force Awakens. But again, as I argued on Movie Fights, there were also invisible special effects in Avengers Endgame.
There sure were.
There are invisible special effects in every.
I mean, everybody's clothes. I mean, they might as well be naked with dots on them when they're walking around on the set. So every article of clothes is CGI for the most part.
So,
so
I almost feel we're starting to value, in a weird way, too much the idea of invisible visual effects because sometimes, I get the idea of just like craftsmanship over quantity. I've made that argument in many cases, but I also think that you got to strike. You have to strike a balance.
Yeah, because I think even towards I want to say this last like 3 weeks, I started seeing a lot more of. Did you know like how many invisible effects there were in Parasite and other stuff? And I'm like. It's an interesting fact, but I'm trying to think of the last time I'd seen a movie that was something like a Parasite, which isn't like like this big grand space dude fighting space dude movie. That's really like no, we added a story. There's a whole other story on top of that.
Yeah.
Oscar, please.
Yeah. No, there are invisible special effects now in every.
What I will say, though, is the presentation of the award for Best Visual Effects was one of my favorite of the night because the visual effects team who worked on 1917 got to finally fulfill their dream of being handed Oscars by two adults dressed as cats.
Oh, that was awesome. I'm sorry. That was awesome. That was so meta and good.
I liked that.
It was great.
It made me
The only time I've been entertained by James Corden and me stealing.
Like ever.
Drive a car, James. Have you heard of it?
He doesn't even drive it.
Doesn't even
see
drive
those
the car.
pictures? Doesn't even drive it. He's getting towed. It's carpool towing. Tow pool karaoke.
We actually make a trailer.
Oh man.
Yeah, but their bit was a really good bit.
That was really good, and it was I think I'm hoping that this continues. Universal and the folks involved with that movie being very smart about knowing exactly what movie you've made now and just ride the wave in.
Guys, if you live in Los Angeles, there is a rowdy screening of Cats at the Alamo Drafthouse in downtown LA, literally every night.
And it sells out.
Oh yeah,
I think weeks in advance now.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
As well it should.
It's amazing. I have gone before. Highly recommend.
I do first recommend that you see a regular screening, I would say, because it can get a little too distracting, and you want to make sure that when someone asks if you want to see the Jellicle choice, that you get to actually hear the question being asked.
Yeah, it's very like Rocky Horror of people call and responding now. It's becoming its own beast,
and people like dancing in front of it, which again is really fun. I don't think that's how you want to see it the first time.
Not the first time. You really need to soak it in in a neutral environment.
You're taking them cats. Oh, cats. Ed, where can the people find you?
At Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter and Instagram, and also my podcast, Nerd Goat Podcast, as well as my my YouTube channel, Reboot It, with me, Billy Biz, and the Nerd Goat guys. We reboot movies in about an hour in one take. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it don't. Watch the show.
I like it. Emma?
I am at Emma Fyffe all over the internet, wherever Emma Fyffes are sold. You can find me traversing the entire city of Los Angeles in search of a good bodega breakfast sandwich, inspired by Birds of Prey. It is really an undertaking. We don't have the right kind of bread in most places in Los Angeles.
Can I be your Carrie Kelly Robin as you search for these? Because I would love to go on them. You have my axe.
All right.
And actually,
you're hired.
weird nerd stuff. It's a water thing. And so a lot of places where they make things where they'll say like, oh, this is specifically Chicago style pizza or a New York style pizza or whatever, they will buy, because a lot of times like I won't say any brand names, but a lot of times your big brand names for waters, they're just like tapped at different water sources or whatever. And so if you just buy a big crate of the water that you know is the water that comes from that kind of area, that's how you can recreate those kinds of breads.
Nice.
Bread talk.
I didn't know that. Carb talk.
Carb talk.
There we go.
Dan?
Yes. You can find me here later today on Charting. We're going to be talking about Birds of Prey. Weird result for that this weekend. Try to break that down a little bit. Good weekend for the Joker. Not so great for Birds of Prey. Different Joker.
Different Joker.
Never a good weekend for the Jared Leto.
No.
But Joaquin's Joker doing very well. So we're going to talk about that. We'll probably do a little bit of Oscar talk. We do what we do.
Getting in them numbers.
And thank
you all so much for joining us, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Bye.